Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking closely at flattery, those compliments we give and receive.
Right. Giving praise to make someone feel good, essentially.
Exactly. And we've got two really interesting pieces of material for this. There's an English learning dialogue, which actually teaches common flattering phrases.
Which is quite useful in itself.
Definitely. And then there's a short story that, well, it really highlights how flattery can be used and sometimes, maybe often, misused.
Yeah, it puts it into sharp relief.
So our mission here is to get beyond just the surface. We want to understand the art, maybe of flattery, how it works, how people see it, and really importantly, how to tell if it's genuine.
Or if there's maybe something else going on, it's about the social dynamics, not just the words.
Okay, so let's start with some key vocabulary from that EnglishPod dialogue. Two words jumped out: bar exam and obnoxious.
Good ones to clarify. The bar exam, that's the big test, right, for becoming a lawyer.
Yeah, the official hurdle they have to pass. So
Okay.
pretty important in context. And obnoxious.
Just means very, very annoying.
Got it. So keep those in mind. Let's dive into the dialogue, specifically that first exchange between Valerie and Darlene.
Ah, yes. It starts off with a real flurry of compliments, doesn't it?
It really does. Valerie just comes right out with, well, you look amazing, and then, I love what you've done with your hair.
Very direct. A kind of standard positive opening.
And Darlene immediately fires back with, you haven't aged a day.
It's interesting that focus on appearance right away. That seems common.
It does. And that kind of flattery, well, it can hit home because people are often thinking about how they look.
True. Then they shift gears, talk about their children.
Which feels natural, catching up, sharing family news. Valerie calls Darlene's son such a handsome guy.
Nice general compliment.
And Darlene mentions her daughter Pamela. She passed the bar examiners that term, and she's getting married. Big news.
Big achievements, yeah. Things you'd be proud to share. And then Darlene gives another compliment back to Valerie about her looks.
You see that pattern, don't you? The back and forth.
It's like social tennis, almost. Reciprocity. One compliment deserves another, seemingly.
But then, goodbye seems friendly enough.
Right, on the surface, yes.
Polite. But as soon as Valerie's gone, Darlene drops the act. She says, I cannot stand that woman or her obnoxious daughter.
Wow. The contrast is just huge.
It really is. It perfectly shows how flattery can be, well, completely separate from how someone actually feels.
Yeah.
A performance.
Absolutely. And that takes us nicely into the fluency builder section, where they break down some of that language. First up, I love what you've done with.
Right, they explain it's not just for hair. Could be a house, a garden.
Basically means I like this change you made. Shows you noticed.
It's versatile, acknowledges effort. People probably like hearing that. Then there's Darlene's line, you haven't aged a day.
Ah, the classic. Meaning you look young, you look great for your age.
Why do you think that one's so common? Even if maybe it's not, strictly speaking, true.
Well, it taps into a pretty common desire, doesn't it? To seem youthful, vibrant. Saying someone has an age, it suggests they look good. It's generally received well, even if it's a bit of an exaggeration.
Makes sense. Okay, then Valerie's comment about the son. Such a handsome guy. This leads to the structure. He, she is such a adjective guy girl.
Yeah, the
I'm
such Iowa part really emphasizes it, intensifies the compliment. It's not just handsome, it's such a handsome guy.
Like turning up the volume on the praise. You could say, such an intelligent guy, or even like, such a good day.
Exactly, it adds that extra oomph.
And then there's that other specific one. He, she gets Hisher looks intelligent singing voice from Hisher mother, father, grandparent.
Oh yeah, linking a good trait to family.
What's the thinking behind that one, do you reckon?
Well, it kind of broadens the compliment, doesn't it? It praises the person, but also gives a nod to their family, their background. Suggests the quality is deep-rooted, maybe inherited.
That's interesting. Like, it's not just luck, it's in the genes.
Something like that. And the dialogue notes, you'd usually link it to parents or grandparents, not so much siblings.
Right. Then they play the dialogue again, slowed down.
Which is always helpful. Lets you really hear how those phrases land in a conversation.
Yeah, you hear how smoothly they fit in, whether they're meant sincerely or not. Okay, next section, Fluency Builder Part 2. This focuses on small talk.
Which is exactly where a lot of this flattery happens, right? In those everyday chats.
Totally. The opening line from Valerie, it's been such a long time. Classic starter for someone you haven't seen for ages.
It conveys a bit of warmth, maybe a slight regret about the time past. Sets a friendly tone.
Even if it's just a casual chat. Then Valerie uses, by the way, I heard your son recently graduated. the fluency builder points out, by the way, for changing the subject.
And I heard something shows you're interested. You're paying attention to their life. It invites them to share more.
Yeah, it's like saying, I remember hearing some news about you, tell me more. They give examples like weddings, babies, holidays.
All those common life events people talk about.
And using I heard feels softer than directly asking, maybe. Less like you're prying.
I think so, yeah. It's a gentle way to bring it up. And finally, the exit line. It's been great talking to you, but I have to get going.
Polite, clear, and get going just means leave.
Exactly. Provides a smooth way out without being abrupt. And again, we hear the dialogue to catch these phrases.
It's really effective hearing it. And it's kind of striking how these polite tools, these small talk phrases, work just as well, even when the person, like Darlene, secretly feels negatively.
It really hammers home that point. The words are just tools. It's the intention behind them that matters.
Which leads us perfectly into the second source, that story about Tom and Sarah, the power of flattery.
Yes, this one illustrates the more calculated side of flattery very clearly.
We have Tom, the shop owner, portrayed as just a really kind, decent person.
Seems like a genuinely nice guy. Then Sarah shows up, new in town, and she immediately starts laying on the compliments.
Thick and fast, right? Best shop in town, everything's so fresh and clean, he's so smart, has the nicest smile.
It's a real bombardment of praise. Very focused.
And Tom? Well, naturally, he reacts positively. It feels good to hear nice things.
Of course it does. And he starts to like her, feel warmly towards her. It shows how flattery works to build that initial goodwill.
But then, the other shoe drops.
Then comes the big request. She asks for money.
And look how she does it. She appeals specifically to his kindness and strength, the very thing she'd been complimenting him on.
Oh, absolutely calculated. She's leveraging the positive feeling she just spent time building up, using the flattery as groundwork.
Exactly. Softening him up, making him more likely to say yes. And he does. He gives her the money.
Influenced by her words, by how she made him feel, it really shows the persuasive power flattery can have.
And then, surprise, surprise.
She vanishes, doesn't pay him back. Tom's left feeling, well, used.
Yeah, disappointed, maybe a bit foolish. But the real kicker is when he bumps into her again later.
Right. And her explanation is just so blunt.
Isn't it? She basically says, yeah, I flattered you to get what I wanted. That is what flattery is for.
Oof. Talk about cynical, no apologies, just that's how it works.
It's a really harsh moment for Tom. He realizes all those nice words meant absolutely nothing, just a tool for manipulation.
It's a much sharper, more exploitative use of flattery than the sort of social lubrication we saw in the dialogue. The motive here is pure self-interest.
And Tom learns his lesson, right?
Yeah.
He decides he needs to be more careful, more discerning.
But importantly, he decides to stay kind, just not naive. That's a key distinction.
I like that. And the story ends with that nice little contrast, doesn't it?
The little boy.
Yeah, who genuinely praises Tom's baking.
And Tom feels the difference immediately. He knows that praise is real. It resonates differently.
It highlights that gut feeling we sometimes get about sincerity. True appreciation feels different from empty words.
So the story's message seems pretty clear. Flattery feels good, but watch out, it's not always honest. Learn to tell the difference. And that honesty and real kindness are ultimately better. Okay, so tying this all up, that EnglishPod audio review list has some useful vocabulary.
It does. We see small talk, again the setting for flattery, and you haven't aged a day, that recurring compliment.
And then terms reflecting the negative side. Talk behind someone's back, be hypocritical to face.
Which definitely fits Darlene's behavior.
And even stab someone in the back, which is a more serious betrayal, maybe closer to what Sarah did to Tom.
There's also gossip, another social activity where things aren't always straightforward. And back to the positive, I love what you have done with.
Plus workout, related to looking young, and, by the way, for topic sifts, and the dialogue specifics. Bar exam, get going, and obnoxious.
It's neat how they all connect back to these themes of talking to people, being sincere or not.
It really brings it all together, language as a tool for connection, but also potentially for manipulation.
So wrapping up this deep dive, I think the main takeaway is that flattery is, well, it's everywhere in how we interact.
Definitely common. And it can be positive, right? Building connections, making people feel good.
But as Tom and Sarah showed us pretty starkly, it's got that potential downside. Insincerity, manipulation.
Both the dialogue and the story really push us to be aware of the language people use, but also the why behind it, the context.
So it really comes down to discernment, learning to separate genuine appreciation from,
Hmm.
well, empty
I
words.
think that's a huge part of it, developing that skill. So maybe a final thought for everyone listening.
Therefore,
How can you, in your own life, work on both things? How can you get better at giving sincere appreciation, because that's valuable too, but also get better at spotting when flattery might be less than genuine?
what are those little clues, the inconsistencies maybe?
Exactly. What are those subtle signs you could start paying more attention to? It's a really interesting and complex part of just being human and talking to each other, something to think about.